Welcome to the Inner Athlete Podcast, where we discuss all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.
Welcome back to the Inner Athlete Podcast. I've got a special guest here, Callahan. Is that your first?
Yeah, Callahan.
Callahan,
yep.
Charge. Everyone just calls you Cal, for sure.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, nice. Cal is here with us today. He is a basketball coach. He works one-on-one in small groups and does camps and academies and whatnot. But if you want to give us a bit of a spiel of who you are, then we get into it.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks for the introduction, Trent. I've been a basketball coach for about 15 years now. So early on, I was a basketball player myself, working my way through the rep system from under 16s up. Ended up being able to go to America on a partial college scholarship to Division 2, which was really awesome. Didn't kind of work out in the end. Great experience, but then came back. What am I going to do next? Started coaching my sisters, starting to really enjoy it. Jumped into rep coaching, and then just kind of came from there. Started to do one-on-one sessions, and then just started to really find like a love for helping kids, helping them improve, helping them be able to find and also access to like really good coaching too, which was something I always noticed from my time growing up. Like, wow, if I had a private coach earlier on, or someone who could really show me how to do all the moves or all the skills properly, what could I have done with that, or how much more could I have enjoyed the game?
Yeah. Before we get into that side, how was college? How long were you there for? I guess what was the experience like? Because I think there's obviously a lot of aspiring kids that want to go play college ball and or even play over in Europe or something like that overseas. What was your experience like? Yeah,
so I went to a small Division 2 college in North Carolina. I was actually lucky enough to go with like one of my best mates, which was pretty cool. So totally different system over there. The pre-season was insane. So just in terms of your basic fitness, running, not even on a basketball court, was just a different experience, and kind of the standards they expect from you when you're over there in terms of how fit you are, how you look after yourself and all those sorts of things. But just overall, it's pretty cool to go and meet all these people from the other side of the world, get to know, like even at the college I went to, there would be 8 different people in your classroom that were from different countries.
Oh, wow.
So just an experience like that, and getting to like Serbians and Swedish, all those sorts of things was pretty cool. So the overall experience, as much as I was there for 6 months, I actually came home a little bit early. I look back on it, it's probably one of the best basketball experiences I had.
Yeah, and in terms of the physical preparation stuff, so you alluded to that before. What was different between what you had been exposed to here to what it was like over there?
I guess just due to the time you're spending over there, and I guess the professionalism around being in a college, the fitness that is required is extreme. And on another point, when I was in college, there were lots of rules around how much time you could actually spend with formal training during pre-season. So in order to get a lot of your fitness or team time together, you'd have to be doing it fixtured training sessions or fitness sessions.
Yeah.
So it was lots of sprinting. Lots and lots, and if you didn't do it as fast as you did it last time, you'd do it again.
Because there's such a short window of time. It's like, all right, shit, we've got to cram everything in, or cram as much as we can in such a short window of time. Yeah,
definitely, and it was never, you had to get fitter every day or beat your time every day, otherwise they would just walk you back and you'd do it again.
Damn.
So it took a while to kind of mentally get over that part of it. But it's something that you just learn from forever. Like, if you can push through those sorts of things, and 12 weeks of it, if you can push through, like at the end, like there's a different you.
Yeah.
And something you're proud of as well. That was probably the hardest thing I ever did, I reckon.
And did you feel that physical preparation, like that training, right? Did you feel like that actually had a positive correlation to your performance?
Oh, definitely. I think like that was the fittest I was in my career, and it was by far the best I'd ever played.
Wow.
And I think just the fitness on the basketball court is something that we don't talk about probably as much as we should, and how much it actually impacts your ability to play at your peak.
Yeah. Then fast forward a little bit, you start coaching your younger sisters or sisters?
Yep, sisters. Yeah, 2 of them. Yeah.
So you start coaching them, then you're kind of like, you kind of starting to enjoy it a little bit more, and then start coaching more, I guess, club level. Then you went into more the rep system. Then I guess you kind of found a bit of a niche within that, and that's where I guess basketball mentors kind of came to be. Yeah,
definitely. So I was just like coaching a local rep team and a couple of domestic teams, and one of the parents one day was just like, hey, I know you've been to college and I've seen you play, could you help out a couple of girls with their shooting? And I just started doing it like that. Next thing you know, I had a couple other people ask me, 6 months later, I was doing it every day. So it's just kind of something that happened and I just enjoyed. And for about 5 years there, it was, I guess, a hobby of mine, just something I like to do. And now it's a full-time job.
Wow.
Which is even cool, which means I can help more people.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Then with that at the moment, how many kids are you looking after, roughly a week?
Yeah, so last term was the last time I kind of added it all up because a lot's going on, but it was about 130 kids a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite a lot, and that's about 30 sessions, couple group sessions every single morning, or privates every single morning.
Yep.
Maybe 1 or 2 during the day, and maybe a couple in the afternoon and on Saturdays.
So it's about 30 hours of coaching.
Pretty much, yep.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Then in terms of the ages as well, like, you know, what's the youngest and what's the oldest, and kind of like what's the skill, and where are they at the moment?
Yeah, totally. So I coach probably anywhere from like 7 upwards, but I coach a lot of girls who are like 7 or 8, but they're more so in a group. So I basically coach from like the 7 to 8 years to 13, 14. That's probably my, most common age group I coach for private lessons and small group stuff. Some of the older kids I coach are 17, so I've got a 17-year-old who we were just talking about before, we won't name where, but she's trying to go to Division 1 college, and she's also a development player for a professional basketball team. So that's pretty cool. So she's 17, hoping to go to America next year or even extend further as a professional here. I also coach a guy, Ryan, and he plays for the Australian Kangaroos, or he's in the squad for that team. So I've been training both of them for 5 or so years. So they're probably the longest clients I've had.
Wow.
And they're pretty awesome achievements by both of them. But yeah, it just speaks to their dedication, really.
Yeah,
I've just been a small part along the way.
Yeah, just been, I guess, yeah. Well, essentially, yeah, you just kind of like being able to mentor them through the whole process.
Totally.
To where they are now. But then we've mentioned before, I guess, through conversations and whatnot, that even though that the kids are coming to you for training, they're going to the normal practice, they're playing on the weekends or during the week, whatever it may be, right? What do you feel like is like the biggest gap at the moment, like off the court for a lot of these young and up and coming kids?
Yeah, I think it's and I think we're getting better as like a basketball community. Just all the other aspects that aren't exactly on the court. How are you warming up properly? Are you doing your foam rolling and your activation before you step on the court? When you're finished, are you kind of just hopping in the car and going home and doing whatever, or are you making sure you have a little stretch before you go, take your shoes off, put a jumper on, put some trackies on, little things like that. And on top of, sleep and nutrition, I think areas it's just hard because it's how do you access to different people? There's not many places, I guess, where it's all in one, like kind of inner athlete do, where they can talk about your sleep and your food and all your habits that, build into who you are and I guess how your body can perform.
Yeah, because I guess practicing the skill is kind of like the tippy top of like what you should be doing, but it's obviously there's things that need to happen beforehand, like good sleep, good nutrition, just being generally physically active as well, and then kind of like the basketball training is a component of that.
Totally. Like for a kid to be able to shoot a 3-pointer, they've got to be able to move the correct way to be able to shoot the ball the correct way, so over time they can actually improve at it, instead of seeing small little promises here and there just because they do whatever they can to make it. That doesn't include, I guess, the proper way to move.
Yeah, because what we tend to see, because we're a few basketballers here, is when we see the increase in just general strength, we tend to see an increase in accuracy in their shot. Maybe their range starts to improve a lot more as well. It's less of this chest pass. It's more of I don't know what you'll call it, like an up flick, essentially.
Yep.
In their shot, so it becomes a lot more accurate over time. And obviously, that if you look at the best NBA players at the moment, like Luka Doncic and Joker, they've got a Euro handball background, so they actually shoot over their head or above their head. So it's going to become a lot harder to guard these individuals, especially when they're shooting. So I think that's where obviously playing different sports comes into that. Then they've been able to develop their strength and I guess the finesse in their shot because that practice and repetition of throwing a ball over the head so many times. Where I guess with basketball, it's easier to drop your hands more so, especially at the junior levels. And for us, we always implore kids to play multiple sports when they're growing up. Different seasons, play different sport. But even doing some level of strength training or resistance training will help to improve those specific areas as well. It might be to improve their vertical jump. It might be to become more fitter on the court, so they're less like lumbering around, because you tend to see some of the big big kids that are at the younger ages, they're probably like the ones that are struggling up and down the court. I remember when I was playing, I was a big kid. You know,
Yep.
I was just like, oh, great, we've got another turnover here. You just turn back on defense again. So I think that's going to be the real key thing for a lot of kids moving forward, is just building that general strength base and that foundation of athletic movement, and then still developing the basketball side. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think, you know, you miss the general athleticism that is really needed to be on the court, because if you're just practicing your shot and without practicing everything else, you're just going to be a good shooter.
Yep, totally.
But you're going to get exposed in other areas because you only hold on to the ball for like, I don't know, within 24 seconds, for maybe like 1 or 2 seconds within that time. So you need to be agile, moving around, playing defense, and that hustle as well.
Yeah, totally. It's like what I always say to kids, and going off that, the fitter you are, the stronger you are, the more likely you are to get into the fourth quarter of the game and still be able to do those movements with minimal effort.
Yeah.
And if you're able to do those movements still by the end of the game with minimal effort, you're more likely to succeed, or at least perform those movements at an optimal level to give yourself a chance to have the right outcome that you want.
Yeah, and you're at this point now, 15 years of coaching essentially. You're at this journey. What are some of the key things that you wish you did when you were younger, or had access to when you were younger throughout your career?
I think in terms of like myself when I was playing, I think the thing was always, you remember the coaches that really cared and also like really tried to help you. So it's one of the things like I always try to do, is make sure like I show the kids that I really care. And over the journey, you learn different ways on how to do that, in a way that's going to actually help them succeed as well. Because sometimes if you're too positive, you know who you're helping. But if you can learn how to motivate a kid while giving them confidence, while also helping them on what they need to work on without just telling them they're doing everything great, that's what I've been able to learn on my journey so far. I reckon just being able to talk to different kids as well, because all kids these days, they all learn differently, especially after COVID. Just the way they learn and how they learn and attention span and all those things, you've got to change and adjust to be able to suit every different type of kid you've got. So that's probably one of the main things I've learned over time, is how to change how I approach a session or how I approach teaching a skill based off, I guess, how the kid learns, or how they're actually responding to me on the day. Sometimes I see a kid and I go, oh, you're a bit tired today. Yeah. And I can figure out how, according to that kid, to adjust what I want to do to still be able to get as much as I can out of the session for them, without kind of potentially doing negative things or things that I don't want to do that today. A specific drill, I can tell, I know that kid doesn't want to do that drill today because it's hard. So can I get the same sort of thing out by doing something different? So they don't enter that, I don't want to do that drill again, kind of phase of the session.
It's interesting how with a lot of kids these days, they're kind of like, they're starting to speak up a little bit more. I don't like doing this, don't like doing that. But what I found is really important is providing the level of context for the kid. The reason why I like providing context is because they're going to see the potential upside of continuing to practice. So we work with a lot of swimmers here. We say, all right, the reason why we're doing this exercise on like a reverse hyper, it's going to help strengthen your hips, glutes, lower back, right? And what does this movement look like? And we ask the question. It's like a dolphin kick. I'm like, well, yeah, it's going to help you with your up kick and your dolphin kick. It's like, oh yeah, cool. Then they do it, and then they're more likely to push themselves because they know that the potential return of that, only if they actually put in the work. So it's kind of like you see all the superannuation ads is past performance is not predictive of future performance or whatever it may be, right? But we know that there's a general trend of, if we continue to do this, the greater likelihood of that it's going to provide that specific outcome as well. So that's where context really comes into play with kids. So even working with like footy kids at the moment, like the real young ones, it's just like, I'm bored, I don't like this drill. I'm like, do you want to run faster or not? And it's like, yeah, I do. And it's like, all right, well, we're going to do this 2 more times, then we'll move on to the next one. It's like, all right. And they do it apprehensively, but they're more likely to continue on with that, because then if you put them in a position, once they've learnt that drill, then you put them into more of a sporting context, or like a game-based scenario. So like in your example, if there's a specific drill they don't like doing, but then it's like, all right, we're going to do this drill where we're going to feed it and make it a bit more like live play. Then they see the outcome. It's like, and you ask them, how did that feel? And it's like, I actually felt all right. And it's like, you dap them up, and then it's like, then they end up being on more of a high by achieving that as well. And sometimes you got to kind of, depending on who you're working with and what relationship is like with the child, you do have to provide that building blocks of making one step at a time, and increasing the complexity over time and providing some level of mastery, because they're going to start getting that dopamine high associated with it, with that level of achievement. So if you create something so complex for them, it's like, oh, I can't do this, it's too hard. And it's like, all right, cool, we're going to start with here, then we're going to put in this, then we're going to put in this, we're going to put in this, and it's going to be that.
Totally, yeah. Look, I've always found if you can kind of explain to the kids why they're doing something, you know, they love that. You know, they're more likely to then go and do it. If you can also show them why you're doing it, instead of just explain why, they're in. You know, and a lot of the time the kids actually just respect you talking to them that way instead of just telling them.
Yeah.
You know, something that back and forth with them to explain, hey, do you understand? Does that, like you said, does that feel good? Those kind of conversations, I think, really resonate with athletes of all ages, because they feel like there's a two-way thing going on instead of just a one-way.
Yeah, it's context. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to coaching kids in that regards. Is there anything else that you feel like that, you know, from a parent's perspective, what do you feel like parents might be missing in terms of helping their kids develop within the world of basketball?
So I think the thing is, in all honesty, trying to just get them to just go out every day and just practice for like 10 to 15 minutes. You know, because that's, I think, where we get lost in this shuffle of, we play domestic and we play rep. But so does thousands of people.
Yeah.
You know, do you go outside and practice for that extra 10 to 15 minutes every day? Because if you're the only person in your team who goes out there and just has a couple shots or practices your free throws or practices your left hand for 10 to 15 minutes, if you do that every day for a week, in 2 weeks' time you'll see a noticeable difference compared to the rest of your teammates. So I think it's not trying to make them do too much extra, because they're obviously already doing a lot, and we don't want to just be like, hey, you only play basketball. You know, like you said, we want the kids to play as much sports as they can so they get as much enjoyment and learn different movement patterns, all those sorts of things. But I think it's just that, you know, be a little bit more strategic in the way that you are practicing, and only do it and you don't have to do it for more than 15 minutes a day, I reckon. You know, so you don't overload it, you don't take away from anything else, but you do that every day, you practice those little things and targeted things. I think that's what parents can help them with.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, but it's not always about the exact result straight away. You know, I think that's the thing. You know, okay, why are we practicing for 10 to 15 minutes a day? It's not to be perfect. It's to slowly improve at something.
Yeah, it's the accumulation of training volume over time, which in 2 weeks' time. So if you train for 15 minutes every day, you know, that's 3.25 hours. No, 1.75. Oh, jeez, wasn't the greatest at maths. About
7 by 15, 150, I think.
150.
No, it's totally wrong.
Anyways, I think it's 175 minutes, so
it builds up.
Yeah, it accumulates quite quickly over time, and especially if you're doing that every single day. And it might be something as, you know, going to the basketball court at school, grabbing a basketball, and just sticking around for an extra 15 minutes. And your parents might be 15 minutes late to pick you up, and just having that basketball ready, and just practicing straight after school, so you don't have to think too much about, I've got to go outside or this, that, and the other. That it's already sorted. You've committed that 15 minutes of time, shoot the hoops, and the parents come pick you up, and then you're ready to go. Then you've already got your 15 minutes in. Or before school, I think before school would actually be better than anything else, because they're like half asleep, they're lumbering into school. You know, if you get them to shoot 15 minutes, at least it's going to wake up their brain, so they're going to be more prepared for school. So I say, parents, a bit of advice: drop your kids off 15 minutes before and give them a basketball to shoot some hoops with them, and even shoot hoops with them as well. I think providing a little bit more context, and it might even provide that little interaction with the kids and the parents, and you know, that almost like creating like a moment for the two as well. Anything else that kind of comes to mind in terms of what parents can do to, you know, support their kids, and especially in the basketball development?
I think just always keeping, you know, it's hard because you spend so much time, I guess, driving them to different sports, and it can be frustrating, I guess, when they don't play amazing. But I guess it's always just keeping it positive with them. I think that's the biggest thing I've learnt over the years. You know, the more positivity, the more growth as well. Yeah. So that's probably the other thing.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned before, about the positivity is kind of restructuring it. It's like, oh, you did poor. If they say that I did poor at this, this, and this, I'm like, okay, cool. What can we take away from that? It's like, what do you think is the next step for you to make that less of an issue moving forward, and putting the accountability on the kid themselves? And may not be ideal to do it right after the game. You might do it on the drive home or something like that, just to review the performance. And I think doing some level of review or reflection, and then just putting some steps in place so it's no longer an issue, is actually one of the key steps that I think is missing with a lot of parents and a lot of kids as well in their actual development, because they continue to put all the attention on the things that are bogging them down, rather than what's actually going to help move them out of that problem specifically.
Totally.
So they get lost in the weeds in that, not seeing, like, you know, what direction they should be going moving forward.
I think the goal for kids is they just play as long as they can. Like, I think the coolest thing about my whole basketball journey is that I still play basketball 2 times a week with mates, and we still rock up against, 18, 19-year-old kids and smash them, even though they're way fitter and probably practice way more. I think that's the coolest part of the whole journey. So I always go, the goal should be that they stay playing as long as they can and they enjoy it. And however we can kind of foster that to happen, that should be the goal.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Any last words or?
No, I think that, I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. So what's the future moving forward then for Basketball Mentors? Like, what do you see as your goal? What do you see as, where the kids are going? What do you see?
Look, I guess the goal is to be able to provide, more. 30 sessions a week is great. A lot of those are outdoors, which obviously makes it hard because we live in Melbourne and it rains even when it's sunny.
Yeah.
So whoever knows, in a couple of hours, even though it's sunny right now, it's probably raining and I can't do sessions. Yeah. So it's trying to find, a situation for myself where that's not an issue, and hopefully that is a centre of our own for Basketball Mentors somewhere in the local area. But we'll wait and see, what happens there.
Yeah. So exciting times, mate.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, and share. It's a pleasure having Cal down to kind of talk about his experience overseas in the US. I know I've spent a little bit of time myself over in the US. I've spoken about it on numerous podcasts as well, working in the S&C sector. It's definitely a viable path for a lot of kids, and to even do studies there as well. And I think once, especially for the younger kids, you get such a big learning experience of like how the world is, and I think it provides a lot more context and perspective to, the way things run. And using sport as an opportunity to learn and develop is kind of like a unique thing that we have access to as well. So, really exciting times. But thanks for coming down, Cal. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
See you on the next one.
Awesome.
You have just listened to the Inner Athlete podcast. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the release of weekly episodes. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram to get great tips on all things youth athlete development and youth mentoring.